In this video, I'm going to show you how to change down gears smoothly and avoid the jerk. There's two main culprits to the jerk. One is going down to a gear that's too low for your speed, and the other is not pausing on the clutch bite point as you lift the clutch. This is what happens when you change down to a gear that's too low for your speed and you bring the clutch up slowly and don't pause on the bite point. I'm doing 30 miles an hour in fourth. I'm going to go to second gear and bring the clutch up slowly. Now, as usual, you can't pick that up on camera, but that was very jerky. If you notice the revs, I'll replay them now. You see those revs shoot up very quickly there. Not very smooth if you're in the car. So now I'm going to explain how slow you need to go before you go down a gear in order to be smooth. So my revs at the moment are around 1,500. If I come off the gas and slow down and let the revs get down to around about 1,000, like they are now before going down to the next gear, I can bring the clutch up relatively easy without even needing to pause and still be smooth. And that's because when I go down a gear, the revs are going to more or less stay the same, therefore there's not going to be much of a jerk. When you're down to 1,000 RPM and you go down a gear, the difference in RPM is very small. The revs aren't going to rise much at all, which means your clutch doesn't have much of a job to do, which also means you don't have to pause on the clutch for very long at all. You could probably get away with just coming off the clutch really slowly and you'd still be fine and smooth. And it's because it's the difference in revs needed in each gear that causes the jerk. If that doesn't mean anything to you, don't worry. Essentially, if you're at 1,000 RPM in third gear and you go to second, your clutch only needs to bring the engine speed up another 500 RPM, which it can do. But if you're at 4,000 RPM in third and want to go down to second, your clutch needs to bring the engine speed up to 6,000. So it's got 2,000 RPM of engine speed to increase to be smooth, which is a lot more work for the clutch. You'd have to hold the clutch on the bite point until it manages to raise the revs up to that extra 2,000 for it to be smooth. You're not going to do that. You're probably not going to go to second at 4,000 RPM, but that's an extreme example to explain to you why it's smoother to change down gears when your revs are really low, because your clutch has less work to do. You can also use the speed that you're at to decide what gear you want to go down to instead of the revs, but it's not as accurate because different cars are set up differently, so you'll need to go down into second gear in one car at a lower speed than you could in another car, for example. But as a rough guide, generally, if you're less than 30 miles an hour, you can go down to third. If you're less than 20 miles an hour, you can go down to second, and you want to leave first until you're less than 5 miles an hour. And it's for this reason I recommend all cars that are manual have a tachometer, because it's much easier to get the most out of your engine if you have a tachometer or rev counter, instead of having to listen to the engine and guess what sound it needs to make for you to go up a gear or down a gear, or try and remember what speed you need to be doing to go up a gear or down a gear, which is, as I say, a little bit different in all cars, especially diesels to petrols. Diesels generally need you to go down a gear earlier than petrols. For example, this is a petrol car and second gear will go all the way down to 6 miles an hour, whereas most diesels won't go lower than about 9 miles an hour in second gear, which sounds like a small difference, but it's quite a big difference, especially if you're using that second gear for a junction where those 3 miles an hour can make a big difference. After all, 3 out of 6 is 50%, so you're going 50% faster on that junction in second gear in a diesel than you would be in a petrol. So if you wait until the revs are down to around about 1,000 RPM before you change down to the next gear, it will make the car a lot smoother as you bring the clutch up. Even if you just come off the clutch slowly, the car will be smooth. But it's very important to have good clutch control so that you can come off the clutch smoothly all the time and not rely on being at the exact speed for your next lower gear to do it smoothly. This is how you do that. To bring the clutch up smoothly, you have to hold it on the bite point. You can't just come off it slowly unless you are already very slow before you change down to a lower gear. So I'm going to give you an example now. I'm going to get up to 30 miles an hour in third gear. And that's going to be around about 2,000 RPM. Let's get there. I'm about there now, and I'm going to change down to second gear smoothly. I'll lift the clutch up until I'm at the bite point, and I'll know I'm at the bite point because the revs will start rising again, and I'll hold the clutch on the bite point until the clutch has finished. And I'll know the clutch has finished because the revs will stop rising and start coming back down again. You'll see. Watch this. So I'll come off the gas, clutch down into second. Now I'm going to bring the clutch up carefully. Once the revs start rising, I'm at the bite point. So I'm at the bite point now, they've started rising. When they finish rising, like they have done now, I've finished, I can come off the clutch completely, it's done. Totally smooth, no jerk at all. Of course, you don't need to stare at the rev counter whilst you're doing it. You can hear the engine. You can hear the engine speed start to increase, and then you can hear the engine speed finish increasing and start to come back down again. Once the engine speed starts to increase, it starts to go up in pitch, you hold the clutch steady. Once it finishes going up in pitch and starts to come back down in pitch again, you can come off the clutch fully. I know, that's going to burn your clutch. Holding the clutch on the bite point's going to burn your clutch. I've explained this in other videos, and I'm going to make it very short in this one. Holding your clutch on its bite point for a short period of time when you're not giving too many revs is not going to cause excessive wear to your clutch. Your clutch is designed to do that. If you don't want to hold the clutch on the bite point, there is another much harder way. Rev matching. What we mean by rev matching is you rev matching manually. Whenever you change gear, rev matching happens, but the clutch does it. In the earlier example, I brought the clutch up to the bite point. Whilst I'm on the bite point, the clutch is doing its job and rev matching for you. That's the clutch's job, which is why you have to pause on the bite point. But you can rev match manually to save your clutch the job, which means you can come off the clutch very quickly. This is how you do it. I'm going to do it quite slowly to begin with. I'm doing 30 miles an hour in third gear, 2000 RPM. I'm going to press the clutch down, add a little bit of revs, put it into second gear, and then I should be able to come off the clutch without pausing because I've added the revs myself. The clutch may still have to rev match a little bit if I haven't got the exact amount of revs, but it won't have much work to do. So 2000 RPM, clutch down, add a little bit of revs, maybe 2.5 or 3, into second gear, bring the clutch up slowly, and it rev matched for me. That wasn't very good. I'm going to do that again because I'm not used to doing it slowly, if I'm honest. So clutch down, add a little bit of revs, so I'm staying at about 3000, that's better, into second gear, bring the clutch up slowly, and the clutch brought the revs down a little bit, perfectly smooth though. The clutch didn't have to bring the revs up, it only had to bring them down a little bit because I had about 2,900 and what was really needed was about 2,800. I don't actually do it that way, that's just the way you want to practice doing it. I've been doing it for a long time now, if I'm honest with you. I've been doing it for probably about 13 years. So the way I do it is very quick. I'm not going to explain too much how I do it, I'll just show you how I do it. It's more of a blip with the gas than a steady raise, and then I pretty much drop the clutch. So third gear, 30 miles an hour, 2000 RPM again. Here comes a very quick rev matched gear change. Drop the clutch, perfectly smooth. I press the gas, good old hard blip on the gas to bring the revs up. Revs were a little bit too high, come off the clutch, and the clutch brought the revs down a little bit to where they needed to be, but it was very smooth because the clutch didn't have much work to do. There's something else you can do with rev matching as well. You can actually rev match whilst you're braking. That's called heel and toe. I'll demonstrate that now. Again, 2000 RPM, same scenario, 30 miles an hour, third gear. And I'm going to start braking, and as I brake, when I change down a gear, I actually revved the engine with the side of my foot, so the clutch didn't have to bring the revs up when I went down a gear. I did it for it. I'll do that again. I'll bring the revs up for the clutch to make it easier. So braking, little bit of gas with the heel and clutch up, very smooth whilst braking. Now I've got to slow down for this very scary spiky tractor. Now I really don't recommend you practice heel and toe until you're a very experienced driver. It's called heel and toe when you rev the engine as you brake. In actual fact, use the side of your foot more than your heel really. Use whatever bit's comfortable. It's more for experienced drivers or drivers who like to drive on track. But I thought I'd just demonstrate that to you, that is another technique that more advanced drivers use. By about now, you're probably thinking, but why go to a gear that is too low for your speed? Why would you want to do that? Why not just stay in that higher gear? The answer is acceleration. Lower gears accelerate you faster. Take this scenario. You're on a 60 road and there is a large vehicle going 35 in front of you, and you want to get past that large vehicle doing 35 as quickly as possible. This car can go 60 miles an hour in second. Most petrols, or a lot of petrols, can just about manage around 60 miles an hour in second gear. So I'll be better off putting it into second gear, even if I'm at 30 or 35, and you'd think that gear's too low for the speed, because when I put my foot to the floor on the gas pedal, the car is going to launch forward as quickly as possible, all the way up to 60 miles an hour. That is actually one of the reasons why I prefer petrol over diesel, because petrols are far more flexible. The gears can deal with a broader range of speed. So second gear in this car can go from 6 to 60. That's a broad range. That's like slightly faster than walking pace, all the way up to the national speed limit. Whereas a diesel car, second gear typically will start at around 10 miles an hour and run out of puff by 45, which means when you drive a diesel, each gear has less of a range of speed it can handle, which means you change gear more and you have to be in the exact gear for your speed. In this car, at 40, I can be in second, and it's not actually that loud. It's a bit noisy, but it's not terrible. I can be in sixth gear. So that's second, third, fourth, fifth, and sixth. It's 5 different gears I can be in at 40 miles an hour, and this car's not going to complain too much. But in a diesel, you could be in third, fourth, or fifth probably. Sixth in most diesels is a little bit too high at 40. Maybe some can handle it. But petrols are good because you don't need to be in the exact gear for the moment. It gives you more flexibility, and if you accidentally get one gear out, you'll probably be okay. Actually, even if you select 2 gears out, you'll more than likely be okay. I've taught plenty of people who have gone to 5th gear instead of 3rd gear, and this car has struggled a little bit. It's been a bit like, oh, excuse me, please change, I'm vibrating a little bit because you've selected the wrong gear. Whereas in a diesel, when I've taught in diesels and my customer has got 5th gear instead of 3rd, the car has done something more like this. 5th, no, select 3rd. Anyway, you can also change down more than 1 gear at a time. Just thought I'd let you know that. You don't have to go from 4th to 3rd, bring the clutch back up, clutch back down, down the 2nd, and then bring the clutch back up, you're in 2nd. If you're in 4th, or even if you're in 5th, you can come off the gas, put the clutch down, put it into 2nd, bring the clutch gently to the bite point, give a little bit of revs to help it out as you are going down 2 gears, 5th to 2nd, 3 gears, and then bring the clutch up, more gas, and you can carry on. Another benefit of going down more than 1 gear at a time is it will increase your engine braking significantly. If you're in 4th gear and you go down to 2nd gear at say 30 miles an hour, when you bring the clutch up to the bite point and touch the bite point, the car will slow down at a quicker rate than if you only went down 1 gear. I'm going to change down several gears at a time now and show you how much engine braking I can get from that. I'm doing around 40 miles an hour in 5th gear, and I'm going to go down to 2nd gear and I'm going to get the clutch to do an awful lot of engine braking for me. Don't really recommend necessarily doing this because that does put a bit more strain on your clutch going down 3 gears at a time and holding it on the bite point. You're probably better off going down 1 at a time or using your brakes. So 5th gear, 40 miles an hour, off the gas, clutch down, into 2nd. I'm going to bring the clutch to the bite point, revs start rising, hold it on the bite point, the revs go all the way up. They're still going up, still not finished. The clutch is finished now, I can come off the clutch. It's done its job, it brought the revs all the way up to 3,000. And as a result, I've got a much higher level of engine braking than normal because I went all the way down the 2nd. It's not slowing down much, however, on this occasion, so it's kind of a bad example because I'm down a very steep hill. In fact, it's speeding up, but it's a good example of why you want to use your lower gears down hills, because I didn't actually need to use the brake there. I could just be in that lower gear and it kept me slow. It's now finally slowing down that because the hill has finished. However, if you've recently passed or are taking driving lessons, I don't actually recommend rev matching or block changing down multiple gears at a time. It's something I rarely teach my customers to do unless they're really talented at it, because it's very hard. You'll probably get it wrong and it won't help your confidence. It's best to stick with the easy method of waiting for the revs to get closer to 1000 RPM before you go down to that lower gear. Bring the clutch up carefully, try and pause on that bite point to make it smooth. If you do need to overtake, then you probably do need to go down a couple of gears. Bringing the clutch up to the bite point, a little bit of gas once you're at the bite point will help you be smooth and stop you slowing down too much to get to that lower gear so you can accelerate past whatever it is you want to overtake. And once you're feeling really confident and ready to move on to the next level in your driving skills, then you can start using rev matching. I didn't actually start rev matching until I'd been driving for about a year, maybe 2, and I've been driving 15 and a bit years now. And I can still get it a little bit wrong. I can still over rev it a little bit sometimes, which will make the car jerky in itself. It's not too great for your clutch either. Most of the time I can do it now though. Depends what car I'm in. Turbos are harder than non-turbos. If you're practicing without an instructor, make sure you have insurance. Get £20 off via the link in the description to Collingwood, who provides specialist learner insurance that allows you to practice in a friend or family member's car without risking their no claims bonus. If you want to insure your own car, click on the link to confused.com. I have found that they have the widest selection of cheap insurers for young drivers. Well, I hope that helps you change down gears more smoothly without a jerk. If you think it will, give me a thumbs up and subscribe to get my future videos. Until the next one, cheerio.